Imagine sitting down at your kitchen table for breakfast, right? But it's the year 1920.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Yeah, so you're sitting there and you take a single freshly picked orange, you slice it open, you eat it, and your body just effortlessly absorbs this like perfect, precise matrix of vitamin C, bioflavonoids, and trace minerals.
Right, the exact fuel your immune system needs for the day.
Exactly. You are fundamentally nourished. Now, I want you to fast forward to this morning. To get that exact same baseline of cellular nourishment, you would have to sit at that identical table and forcefully consume 8 entire modern oranges.
Oh, wow. 8 of them.
8. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't just be full at that point. You would be physically sick from the sheer volume of fructose and fiber. So the reality is, you aren't just hungry anymore. You are basically surviving an era of invisible starvation.
Man, that completely dismantles our entire foundational understanding of what it means to eat well.
It really does.
Because we operate under this deeply ingrained assumption that a full stomach just automatically equates to a nourished cellular system. Like, we look at a plate of vibrant greens, organic poultry, fresh fruits, and we just see health.
Right, it looks like a magazine cover.
Yeah, but beneath that visual surface, we're basically looking at a biological mirage.
And navigating that mirage is exactly what we're doing today on this deep dive. We are pulling all our insights from a really fascinating, highly detailed presentation by Osman.
Ah, yes. The blind Muslim yogi.
Exactly. And for those of you who aren't familiar, he is a master-level bioenergy healer. Like, we're talking principles of quantum entanglement, telepathic healing capability, specializing in critical care and terminal illnesses.
He's been at this for a long time, right?
Oh, yeah, 50 years of practice. He attained his first samadhi experience by the age of 19.
That is incredible.
It is. He used to practice yoga and meditation up to 18 hours a day in certain stages of his life. Currently, he's at a minimum of 8 to 10 hours a day, just, sharpening the sword, as he puts it.
Which really explains why he has this uncommon ability to heal on such serious levels.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting for context that Osman lost his eyesight entirely in May of 2023.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so if you listen to his materials, you'll often hear him use highly descriptive visual language. And that's because he is drawing on a lifetime of sighted experience to explain these concepts.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, his whole mission is to simplify very complex ancient protocols and make them result-based for modern society. And the goal of our deep dive today is to really unpack his philosophy on modern food depletion, the biological reality of dietary supplementation, and honestly, the severe hidden dangers of this whole wellness culture that tells you more is always better.
But before we even get into the biochemistry of his claims, I think it's crucial we establish the rigid guardrails that Osman himself places around his work.
Definitely. What are the boundaries?
Well, his methodology is this intricate intersection of ancient healing sciences and modern biological awareness. But he is remarkably explicit about one thing. None of this information and none of his consultations are a replacement for professional, localized medical treatment.
Right. It's an enhancement, not a substitute.
Exactly. He offers his paid energy healing services on a complementary basis to enhance whatever might be lacking in other medical fields. If you have an acute medical condition, you don't just meditate on it or take an herbal tincture. You consult a licensed medical professional.
Right, which makes his approach very grounded. And just a quick note for you guys listening, while his critical care consultations and live daily video lessons on Patreon are paid services, and they are premium priced due to his high success rate, he doesn't withhold information.
No, he really puts it all out there.
Yeah, you can find a massive amount of his advice, direction, and techniques entirely for free on his YouTube channel. And he always reminds his viewers about his free 5-minute yoga and meditation program that's available to download right from his website at yogawellness786.com.
It's a great resource. And I think keeping that medical disclaimer in mind really gives us the freedom to look critically at the food supply itself without treating this like medical advice.
Exactly, because if I am doing everything right, like I'm cooking at home, I'm avoiding the drive-through, varying my produce, and I still have to eat 8 oranges to get the nutritional equivalent of what my great-grandparents got from one, well, we have to look at the dirt.
We really do.
We didn't just accidentally misplace these nutrients. We engineered them out of existence.
We completely traded cellular density for logistical volume. I mean, to understand that 8-to-1 orange ratio, we basically have to look at the post-World War II agricultural revolution.
Right, the Green Revolution.
Exactly. The mandate of the mid-20th century was yield.
Yeah.
We had this booming global population. And the goal was just to produce as much food as possible, as quickly as possible, and, make it visually appealing enough to survive thousands of miles of transport on trucks.
It had to look good on the shelf.
Right. And to achieve that, the agricultural industry widely adopted synthetic NPK fertilizers.
NTK. So that's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, right?
Got it. Those are basically the three chemical commands that tell a plant to grow massive and grow fast.
Okay, but what's the problem with that? If the plant is growing, isn't that a good thing?
Well, those three macronutrients of the soil world are a biological shortcut. In a natural, undisturbed ecosystem, a plant's roots engage in this incredibly complex symbiotic relationship with mycorrhizal fungi and the soil microbiome.
Okay, so there's like an underground network.
Exactly. It's a living web. The plant secretes sugars down into the soil to feed the bacteria and the fungi. And in exchange, that microscopic network essentially mines the earth. It breaks down rocks and organic matter to deliver dozens of essential trace minerals. We're talking zinc, copper, magnesium, selenium, back up into the root system.
Oh, wow. So it's an actual trade system.
It is. It's a slow, methodical alchemy.
So basically, by dumping synthetic NPK on the topsoil, we effectively short-circuited that entire underground economy.
Exactly. We gave the plant a massive shot of adrenaline to grow tall and look perfectly ripe, but we bypassed the slow, vital extraction of all those trace minerals.
And then we compounded that error, right, with aggressive monocropping and constant tilling.
Oh, yeah. Tilling the soil physically shreds those delicate fungal networks. And monocropping, planting the exact same crop over and over, ensures that the exact same nutrient profile is sucked out of the topsoil year after year without ever being replenished.
So the soil just becomes exhausted.
Completely. It transforms from a living, breathing microbiome into mere structural scaffolding. It literally just holds the plant upright while the NPK fertilizers pump it full of water and carbohydrates.
That is wild. It's basically nutritional inflation.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, think about economic inflation. You have the exact same $10 bill in your wallet, but its actual purchasing power has plummeted.
Right, it buys you half as much as it used to.
Exactly. The volume of the currency is the same, but the underlying value is hollowed out. So you are eating the exact same physical volume of food, perhaps even more, but your body's cellular bank account is coming up incredibly short.
And the implications of this are profound for human biology.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the baseline ingredients of a seemingly flawless diet are only providing a fraction of their historical mineral content, the foundational definition of what a healthy diet even is just shifts beneath our feet.
Yeah, I want you listening right now to look at your own daily routine. You check your calendar, you hit the gym, you meticulously pack a salad with lean chicken breast for lunch. You feel like you are putting in the work.
Doing everything right.
Right. Yet by 3 p.m., the brain fog just rolls in. Your joints ache, you're relying on a third cup of coffee just to keep your eyes open.
It's exhausting.
And the psychological toll of that is devastating because you feel like a failure. You assume, oh, I'm just aging poorly or I lack discipline.
When the biological reality is that you are quietly starving on a cellular level despite possessing a completely full stomach.
Which forces us to identify exactly what is missing from the modern plate. And Osman highlights a really critical divergence here. He calls it macroabundance versus microstarvation.
Right. And that fatigue you just described,
Right.
that is not a result of a macronutrient deficiency.
No way. We have engineered an absolute utopia of macronutrients. I mean, we are literally swimming in proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Even the cheapest, most accessible food on the planet is overwhelmingly rich in caloric energy.
But caloric energy is simply the raw fuel. And the human engine cannot run on fuel alone. It requires the catalytic converters.
Break that down for us.
Well, think of the macronutrients as the lumber, the bricks, and the concrete of the human body. The micronutrients, the 40 to 50 essential trace minerals like selenium, copper, zinc, magnesium, those are the spark plugs. They're the enzymatic cofactors.
Meaning they make the reactions actually happen?
Exactly. Without zinc, your body cannot fold proteins correctly or synthesize DNA. Without magnesium, the ATP, which is the actual energy currency of your cells, it cannot become biologically active.
So it's basically like trying to build a massive fortress. You have a huge fleet of trucks backing up to the construction site every single hour, dumping thousands of tons of high-quality brick and timber.
Right, that's your modern protein and carbohydrate intake.
Exactly. But the supplier completely neglected to send the mortar, the nails, the screws, and the hinges.
Yeah, and a structure built entirely without fasteners is not a building. It's just a pile of rubble waiting for a strong breeze.
Wow. And in the human body, what is that strong breeze?
It could be a viral infection. It could be a period of high psychological stress, or honestly, simply the natural oxidative stress of cellular respiration.
So just everyday living.
Right. The moment this system is challenged, the architecture collapses. You possess an absolute abundance of raw material, but
Wow.
you totally lack the binding agents.
And that structural collapse manifests clinically, right? Like chronic low-grade inflammation, autoimmune dysfunction, relentless fatigue.
Absolutely. Just consider the apps and diet programs that dominate the wellness industry today. They essentially train the user to hyper-fixate on the macro.
Oh, yeah. Like counting your macros is practically a religion now.
You probably know exactly how many grams of protein and carbohydrates you consumed yesterday, but you are likely entirely blind to your micronutritional intake. You have no idea if your copper to zinc ratio is balanced, or if you actually achieved your daily requirement of selenium.
We're basically managing the superficial aesthetics of the house while the foundation silently rots away.
That is exactly what's happening.
But, the terrifying part is the immediate human reaction to hearing this. Once you realize the soil is dead and the food is hollow, the instinct is just to panic.
Oh, for sure. You want to rush to a pharmacy, clear out the entire aisle of trace minerals, and just swallow a handful of isolated compounds every morning to ensure survival.
Right. But Osman takes a very hard contrarian stance here, which is rooted in the literal etymological definition of the word supplement.
Yeah, a supplement is an addition to something that is already robust and substantial. It is not an eraser.
I love that. It's not an eraser.
Right. You cannot supplement your way out of a biologically bankrupt dietary foundation. Osman insists that the foundation must be built through the food itself. He recommends a diet that is at least 70% plant-based
And why so heavy on the plants?
to ensure maximum exposure to whatever complex nutrients actually remain in the food, alongside the necessary fiber and water content.
And his personal application of this is incredibly rigorous, which makes sense given his background. I mean, he operates on a 90 to 95% raw, plant-based whole food diet, and he explicitly sources 25 to 30 different plant and vegetable varieties into his routine.
25 to 30. That is an astonishing level of biodiversity for a single human digestive tract.
It really is. And the scientific justification for prioritizing the physical food over the isolated pill really comes down to a concept known as the food matrix.
Ah, yes. The food matrix. The biochemical reality is that extracting a nutrient from a complex, fibrous whole food is a profoundly different biological event than dropping an isolated synthetic compound into the highly acidic environment of the human stomach.
Okay, I have to push back on the mechanics of that, though. From a pure chemistry standpoint, ascorbic acid is ascorbic acid. Like whether it was synthesized in a laboratory vat or grown on a tree, the molecular structure of vitamin C is identical. Why does the stomach care where it came from?
That's a great question. It's because your body does not digest molecules in a vacuum. It digests ecosystems.
Ecosystems.
Yeah. When you bite into an apple, you are not merely ingesting ascorbic acid. You are ingesting an intricate biological delivery system. The apple contains pectin fiber, which physically slows the absorption of fructose into the bloodstream.
Right, so you don't get a sugar spike.
Exactly. It also contains living enzymes that immediately begin breaking down the cellular walls of the fruit the second you start chewing. And crucially, it contains bioflavonoids and polyphenols.
What do those do?
These compounds act synergistically with the vitamin C. They actually protect it from immediate oxidation in your stomach acid, and they chaperone it across the intestinal lining directly into the bloodstream.
Oh, wow. So nature essentially built a transport vehicle.
Perfectly said.
Huh?
When you swallow an isolated, naked vitamin C capsule, you strip away the transport vehicle. The ascorbic acid is dumped directly into a vat of hydrochloric acid in your stomach.
Just completely exposed.
Totally exposed. Without the protective flavonoids and the slow-release mechanism of the fiber, a massive percentage of that isolated vitamin is simply destroyed before it ever reaches your small intestine.
Wait, really? So you're not even absorbing it?
Not most of it. And your liver and kidneys actually have to work overtime to filter out the massive, sudden spike of these unchaperoned chemicals. So the food matrix dictates bioavailability.
That reframes the entire grocery store. But look at your own busy schedule, right? A 95% raw, 30 plant biodiversity diet is practically a full-time job.
Oh, absolutely.
For someone listening who is managing a commute, a family, a stressful career, that level of purity is bordering on impossible. Does Osman actually expect the average person to achieve that?
He doesn't. And honestly, his pragmatism is what makes his methodology so accessible. Osman is explicitly non-dogmatic regarding omnivorous diets.
Oh, so he doesn't judge if you eat meat.
Not at all. He states clearly that he has no issue with individuals who consume animal products, provided they adhere to that 70% whole food baseline. The absolute adversary, regardless of whether you are a vegan or an omnivore, is highly refined, ultra-processed food.
Okay, so mechanically separated chicken nuggets and those hyper-processed, seed oil-laden vegan faux meats, they're equally destructive.
Yes, they are destructive not merely because they lack nutrients, but because they actively parasitize the body's existing mineral reserves.
Wait, what do you mean parasitize? They steal from you.
They absolutely steal from you. Ultra-processed foods are loaded with synthetic emulsifiers, artificial preservatives, and massive concentrations of refined sugars.
Right, all the unpronounceable stuff on the label.
Exactly. To metabolize and excrete those foreign compounds, your liver requires heavy amounts of zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Yeah, because the processed food provides none of these cofactors. Your body is forced to leach them from your own bones and tissues just to process the garbage you just ate.
Man, that is grim. Processed food doesn't just leave you empty, it actively robs your cellular bank account.
Which perfectly exposes the ultimate modern psychological trap, the supplement safety net.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. This is the individual who eats fast food for 3 consecutive days, takes a massive chalky multivitamin on Thursday morning, and genuinely believes they have balanced the biological ledger.
Yes. It is the physiological equivalent of attempting to pay off a massive credit card debt with a handful of pennies.
That's hilarious and so sad.
It's true. If your gut microbiome is completely decimated by preservatives and your intestinal lining is highly inflamed from chronic processed sugar intake, your biological infrastructure is essentially offline.
So it doesn't even matter what you swallow.
Exactly. You could swallow the most biologically active premium-grade supplement on Earth, and your inflamed intestines will simply block its absorption. You will just excrete it.
You're just making very expensive urine.
Yep. The 70% whole food diet is non-negotiable because it builds and maintains the actual physical receptors required to absorb the supplement in the first place.
Okay, so the sequence is strictly ordered here. First, you have to repair the gut architecture by stripping out the ultra-processed metabolic parasites. Second, you flood the system with the complex food matrix of a 70% whole food diet to establish the baseline.
That's the foundation.
But as we established earlier with the 1920s orange, even if your diet is architecturally perfect, the soil is still dead. There are structural gaps in the modern world that a diet simply cannot bridge anymore.
Right. And that's where intentional supplementation comes in.
So how do we selectively plug those specific evolutionary gaps?
Well, Osman isolates 3 specific compounds that he considers completely non-negotiable for the modern human physiology: vitamin B12, vitamin D, and selenium.
Okay, let's break these down. Because the mechanisms behind why we are universally deficient in these 3 specific things, it tells a fascinating story about how human innovation has accidentally severed us from our biological roots.
It really does. Let's analyze B12 first. Osman notes this is absolutely mandatory for vegans and vegetarians.
Okay, wait. If a plant-based diet is arguably the closest thing to our ancestral foraging habits, it makes absolute no evolutionary sense that it would naturally lack a fetal vitamin. Like, did human biology change, or did we just sanitize the B12 out of existence?
You've hit the exact mechanism
Like
right
that.
there. We sanitized it away.
Really?
Yeah. Vitamin B12, which is chemically known as cobalamin,
Right.
because it contains a rare trace mineral of cobalt at its center, it's a total biological anomaly.
How so?
It is not synthesized by plants, and it is not synthesized by animals.
Wait, animals don't make it either.
Nope. It is produced exclusively by specific strains of anaerobic bacteria and archaea.
So it's basically a bacterial byproduct.
Correct. Historically, humans and foraging animals ingested these bacteria constantly. We drank from untreated rushing streams. We pulled wild carrots and tubers out of organic, loamy topsoil, and we just ate them without scrubbing them down with chemical washes.
A little dirt never hurt anyone, right?
Exactly. The B12-producing bacteria thrived in that dirt and water. When grazing animals consume these bacteria, the B12 is synthesized in their complex digestive tracts, and it accumulates in their muscle tissue.
Which is why modern omnivores usually get enough of it from eating meat.
Exactly. But over the last century, we implemented aggressive systemic sanitation.
Which, to be fair, is undeniably a triumph. Like, we eradicated cholera, typhoid, and dysentery.
Oh, a monumental triumph of public health. We chlorinated the municipal water supplies, and we instituted these triple washing protocols with mild bleach solutions for our commercial produce. But in our quest to eradicate the pathogens, we collateralized the vital bacteria.
We threw the baby out with the bathwater.
We completely sterilized the modern food environment.
Yeah.
So if you remove animal products from your diet, and you rely entirely on highly sanitized, commercially washed vegetables, you have effectively severed your only two historical pathways to B12.
Man, that is a chilling realization. Our necessary survival adaptations against disease created an invisible nutritional blind spot. And the consequences of ignoring it are severe, right? B12 isn't just for, like, feeling energetic.
Oh, it's so much deeper than that. It is fundamental to the myelin sheath.
The myelin sheath.
Yeah, that's the protective coating around your nerves. It's like the rubber insulation on a copper wire.
Yeah.
That B12, that sheath physically degrades.
Oh, that sounds bad.
It's terrible. You face irreversible neurological damage, severe memory loss, and a condition called megaloblastic anemia.
What happens with that?
Your red blood cells basically become too large and completely dysfunctional, so they literally cannot carry oxygen to your tissues.
Wow. So supplementing B12 isn't a lifestyle choice for a modern vegan. It is a profound biological requirement dictated by our sterilized environment.
Absolutely. And that logic perfectly transitions us to the second compound Osman highlights, vitamin D.
Right. And he specifically targets this for anyone living a modern sedentary lifestyle, particularly those over the age of 50.
So the nomenclature of vitamin D is basically a historical accident. It is not actually a vitamin.
It's not.
No, it is a corticosteroid hormone.
A form. Okay, that completely changes the weight of it.
Right. It regulates the expression of over 1,000 different genes in the human body.
Mm.
It dictates your immune system's ability to identify pathogens. It controls your bone mineralization. And it profoundly modulates serotonin and dopamine synthesis in the brain.
Which regulates your mood.
Exactly.
And historically, we didn't eat it, did we? We manufactured it.
Yes. Think about it. We are essentially bipedal, relatively hairless apes that evolved to live out in the open near the equator.
Running around in the sun all day.
Exactly. Our skin is packed with a cholesterol compound called 7-dehydrocholesterol. When ultraviolet B radiation UVB from the sun strikes the skin, it literally shatters the molecular ring of that cholesterol.
Oh, wow, like a chemical reaction right on the surface.
Yep, converting it into pre-vitamin D3. That compound then travels to your liver and finally down to your kidneys, where it is converted into its biologically active hormonal form called calcitriol.
But just look at our modern architectural reality today. We have effectively designed the sun out of our lives.
We really have.
Think about it. We wake up inside a climate-controlled drywall box. We transition into a metal box with tinted UV-blocking windows to commute to work.
The car.
Yeah. Then we walk into a massive concrete box illuminated entirely by artificial blue-shifted fluorescent lights for 9 hours. And then we commute back home in the dark.
It's depressing when you spell it out like that.
And on top of that, we treat ultraviolet radiation purely as a carcinogen to be aggressively blocked. Like we cover ourselves in clothing and SPF 50 sunscreen the second we go to the beach.
Right. We have engineered a totally subterranean lifestyle while maintaining a solar-dependent biology.
Subterranean. That's exactly it.
And Osman correctly points out the age factor here, too.
Right. He mentioned people over 50. Why is that?
As human skin ages, it physically thins out. The concentration of that precursor cholesterol drops significantly. So a 70-year-old walking in the sun for an hour will synthesize only a tiny fraction of the vitamin D that a 20-year-old will in the exact same conditions.
So you combine an exclusively indoor, screen-dominated culture with an aging population, and what do you get?
You produce a global, systemic epidemic of hormonal deficiency.
It's crazy. We've out-innovated our own biology. We clean our foods so efficiently, we erase the B12, and we build our shelters so perfectly, we blockade the vitamin D.
It's the paradox of progress.
Which leads us directly to the third requirement, selenium.
Yes. And selenium forces us to look right back at that destroyed soil microbiome we talked about earlier.
The dead dirt.
Exactly. Selenium is a trace non-metal that the body uses to synthesize a highly specialized family of proteins called selenoproteins.
And what do they do?
These are basically the master antioxidants of the human body. They defend your cellular DNA from oxidative rupture.
But its primary claim to fame is the thyroid, isn't it?
Yes, the thyroid connection is critical. So the thyroid gland produces a hormone called T4, which is actually biologically inactive. It's essentially just potential energy.
Like a battery sitting on a shelf.
Perfect analogy. To actually regulate your metabolism, your body must convert T4 into the active T3 form. That conversion process is entirely reliant on a selenium-dependent enzyme.
Oh, I see.
If you lack selenium, your thyroid can produce all the T4 in the world, but your metabolism just grinds to a halt because it literally cannot be activated.
You feel sluggish, you gain weight, you're constantly cold.
Exactly. All classic hypothyroid symptoms.
And because of those NPK synthetic fertilizers we discussed earlier, the soil's pH has been drastically altered, right?
Completely.
Hmm.
Acid rain and aggressive chemical farming change the literal chemical charge of the dirt. This locks whatever trace selenium is actually left in the soil into a state that the plant's roots physically cannot absorb.
So it's there, but the plant can't eat it.
Right. And if it's not in the dirt, it's not in the wheat. If it's not in the wheat, it's not in the chicken that eats the wheat. The entire food web just goes completely dark on selenium.
Wow. It is the ultimate example of a macro-environmental failure dictating a micro-level individualized intervention.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so the intellectual groundwork here is laid. We understand the absolute necessity of the food matrix, and we know exactly which three compounds our modern environment has actively stripped from us.
B12, D, and selenium.
Right. But the moment you, the listener, accept this and you decide to intervene, you face a completely different nightmare.
Oh, the supplement aisle.
Yes. You walk into a supplement store or you open a browser and you are just hit by a tsunami of unregulated marketing, proprietary blends, and super aggressive salespeople. Knowing what you need is entirely different from knowing how to acquire it safely.
It's the Wild West out there.
Yeah.
The sourcing of these compounds introduces a massive variable of risk.
And Osman is very transparent in the source material regarding his own sourcing.
Yeah.
He notes that he is a registered distributor for Herbalife and that he has utilized their specific products with positive clinical outcomes for, I think, 24 years.
Yes, 24 years is what he stated.
Okay, I have to step in here and just play the skeptic for a second. Because whenever anyone in the wellness industry reveals they are a distributor for a specific brand, a massive red flag naturally goes up for the consumer.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we've all seen the multi-level marketing structures, the aggressive social media tactics, the late-night infomercials. How do we separate the profound, biologically accurate advice Osman is giving us from what could be construed as, just brand loyalty or a sales pitch?
That level of skepticism is not just welcome. It is a mandatory survival tool in the unregulated wellness space.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page.
But if we look objectively at Osman's argument, we can actually extract the framework of his logic without getting bogged down in the specific logo on the bottle.
Okay, I like that approach.
Because what he is actually providing us with is a highly effective rubric for evaluating any supplement manufacturer out there.
Let's break down that rubric then. What are the metrics he's actually using to justify his trust in a brand?
The first metric is historical longevity. He emphasizes that the company has existed for over 4 decades.
Why does that matter so much?
Because the dietary supplement industry is notoriously volatile. In the United States, under the DSHEA Act of 1994, supplements are not regulated like pharmaceuticals. The FDA does not approve them for safety before they hit the market.
Wait, really? They just go straight to the shelf?
Pretty much. Consequently, thousands of fly-by-night companies emerge. They source cheap, contaminated raw materials from overseas, make super aggressive claims, eventually face a class action lawsuit, and they dissolve within 36 months.
And then they just pop up under a new name.
Exactly. So surviving for 40 years implies an infrastructure capable of maintaining consistent supply chains and, more importantly, surviving longitudinal scrutiny.
Okay, that makes sense. The second metric he uses is geographic footprint. He specifically notes the company operates in 96 countries. Why does that matter to the biochemistry in my stomach?
Because of global regulatory compliance.
Ah, okay.
If a company only operates in a loosely regulated market, they can cut massive corners regarding heavy metal testing and ingredient verification. But if a company distributes in 96 sovereign nations, their formulations must pass the European Medicines Agency, the strict standards of the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration, and dozens of other national health boards.
Right, they have to jump through everyone's hoops.
They are forced into a baseline of rigorous compliance by the strictest common denominator in their entire market,
That completely flips the paradigm for me. Like, you aren't looking for a flashy label or a cool influencer endorsement. You are looking for an international legal footprint.
Precise.
You want a company that has to prove to 90 different governments that their selenium capsule doesn't contain lethal doses of lead.
Exactly. And the final metric is the scale of historical consumer safety. You want a massive data set of human consumption without catastrophic side effects.
So millions of people taking it for decades without their livers failing.
Right. The takeaway here is to apply Osman's rigorous criteria to your own purchasing decisions no matter what brand you choose. Demand third-party assays from organizations like the NSF or USP.
Demand transparent sourcing.
Treat the purchase of a micronutrient with the identical level of investigative gravity that you would apply to an allopathic pharmaceutical intervention.
Because what you are introducing to your biology has profound, highly active chemical consequences.
It's not just a breath mint, it's chemistry.
Exactly. And that reality leads us directly into what I consider the most dangerous, counterintuitive section of this entire discussion.
The dosing.
Yes, let's assume you've done the work. You found a globally compliant, third-party tested, incredibly pure vitamin D supplement. The natural human instinct is to look at the bottle, see 100% daily value, and think, well, if one pill makes me healthy, then taking 10 pills will make me invincible.
Oh man, the overdose fallacy.
It is a terrifying psychological leap from nutritional support to completely unregulated pharmacology.
And Osman issues a severe, blunt warning regarding this exact mindset. Supplements can be highly toxic.
Which is hard for people to hear.
It is.
Yeah.
To illustrate this, he shares a specific anecdote about a close friend who fell into this trap with vitamin D.
What was the dosage this friend was taking?
The friend was consuming a massive daily megadose. We're talking ranging between 4,000 and 40,000 international units every single day.
40,000. That's insane.
He pushed the absolute physiological limit of intake for a sustained extended period, assuming he was, building an impenetrable immune system.
And instead, he broke the machine.
Completely broke it. Upon undergoing routine blood work, his physician immediately flagged the results. The levels of calcitriol in his bloodstream were catastrophically high. He had crossed the threshold into severe toxicity.
Wow. Did the doctor just lower the dose?
No, the physician didn't just adjust the dosage. He issued a strict, total ban on any vitamin D supplementation for a minimum of 3 months.
Just to clear it out.
Simply to allow the body's oversaturated organs time to clear the chemical backlog.
See, this shatters the entire over-the-counter safety halo we all carry around. We equate the word natural with harmless. We think because it's derived from sheep's wool or lichen and it's sold right next to the toothpaste at the grocery store, it can't possibly hurt us.
But cyanide is completely natural.
Exactly. To understand why this friend nearly destroyed his organs, we have to look at the pharmacokinetic difference between how the body handles different types of vitamins.
The distinction lies entirely in solubility. Your body processes water-soluble compounds very, very differently from fat-soluble compounds.
Okay, let's break that down. Vitamins like vitamin C and the entire B-complex family, those are water-soluble.
Right.
So think of a water-soluble vitamin like a kitchen sink with the drain permanently wide open. You turn on the faucet.
Exactly. If you consume a massive 5,000 milligram megadose of vitamin C, your intestinal tract absorbs what it requires to achieve immediate cellular saturation.
And what happens to the rest of it?
The vast majority of the excess remains in the water of your bloodstream. It passes rapidly through the filtration system of your kidneys, and it is excreted in your urine within a matter of hours.
Okay, so it's physiologically inefficient, and it results in very expensive urine, but it is generally safe.
Because the body possesses a rapid, open-drain disposal mechanism.
But vitamin D doesn't behave like water.
No, it does not. Vitamin D, along with vitamins A, E, and K, are fat-soluble. They require dietary fat for intestinal absorption, but more critically, the human body does not readily excrete the excess through the urinary tract.
So using our sink analogy, a fat-soluble vitamin is a sink where the drain is permanently plugged with a stopper.
Yep. Every single drop you add to that basin stays there.
It stays there, and it accumulates.
Your body stores the excess vitamin D deep within the tissues of the liver and in your adipose or fat cells. It is a slow, methodical drip into a biological reservoir that never, ever empties on its own.
And when that reservoir overflows, the physiological consequences are devastating.
Extremely devastating.
Walk us through the mechanism of that devastation. How does too much of a sunshine vitamin become toxic?
Because, as we established, it is a master hormone that controls calcium absorption. When your tissues are toxically overloaded with vitamin D, it sends a relentless, screaming signal to your intestines. Absorb all available calcium immediately. It also signals your skeletal system to begin leaching its stored calcium back out into the blood. Your serum calcium levels spike dangerously high. This is a condition known as hypercalcemia.
And calcium is essentially biological concrete.
Precisely. Your blood becomes supersaturated with this mineral concrete. It causes severe nausea, profound muscular weakness, and cardiac arrhythmias.
Your heart starts beating out of rhythm.
Yes, but the most permanent damage occurs in the kidneys. As the kidneys desperately try to filter this massive calcium load out of the blood, the mineral begins to precipitate and crystallize within the delicate renal tissue.
Kidney stone.
Massive calcium stones, which can permanently scar the kidneys and lead to irreversible renal failure.
All from a bottle legally purchased at a grocery store.
Just from taking too much of a good thing.
It is a stark reminder that the human body is not a bank account where hoarding more deposits equals more wealth. It is a microscopic chemistry lab governed by the strict, unforgiving laws of homeostasis.
And this reveals a really profound psychological vulnerability in our modern culture, don't you think?
Totally. Like, why are we so eager to megadose in the first place?
Because we are exhausted. We feel the subtle chronic decay of our depleted food system. We feel the stress of our artificially lit environments. And we are just desperate for a sense of control over our own mortality.
We want a magic bullet.
We do. So we self-medicate based on social media trends and aggressive marketing algorithms, completely bypassing the objective reality of actual blood work.
And Osman's core philosophy here is restraint. He advocates utilizing the concept of the minimum effective dose.
Give your biological engine the exact spark plug it needs to ignite the fuel, but do not flood the engine block with excess voltage.
Respect the profound biochemical power of these isolated compounds.
Exactly. So if we synthesize this entire journey today, we really arrive at a radically new framework for human health in the 21st century.
We do. We must recognize that the 1920s orange is extinct. We are navigating a landscape of structurally exhausted soils, meaning that true cellular nourishment actually requires intentionality now.
We learned that macronutrient abundance masks micronutrient starvation. The proteins and carbohydrates are basically useless without the trace mineral spark plugs like zinc, magnesium, and copper to actually activate them.
We established that we cannot bypass the biological necessity of the food matrix. The foundation must be an uncompromising 70% whole food, plant-heavy diet to heal the gut architecture.
Combined with the total elimination of ultra-processed metabolic parasites.
Right. Only then do we tactically plug the evolutionary gaps created by modern life, B12 to compensate for our sterile, sanitized food chain,
Vitamin D to replace the sun we constantly hide from.
and selenium to account for the chemically altered, depleted dirt.
And finally, we must approach the acquisition of these compounds with clinical skepticism, demanding global compliance and third-party testing, while demonstrating profound restraint in our dosing to avoid that lethal cascade of fat-soluble toxicity.
It fundamentally changes how you look at a plate of food, and it certainly changes how you look at a medicine cabinet.
It's a paradigm shift.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, the source of our deep dive today, Osman, offers a wealth of further resources. To really understand how he bridges these ancient sciences with modern biological challenges, and specifically to access his free 5-minute yoga and meditation program, you can visit his website at yogawellness786.com.
It's amazing that he offers that for free.
It really is, especially considering he currently practices 8 to 10 hours a day. He also has a Patreon for his premium live daily video lessons and one-on-one consultations if you want to go deeper.
Definitely worth checking out.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a philosophical provocation to consider as you examine your own daily habits. We've spent this time analyzing how human beings are currently forced to micromanage their own cellular chemistry with lab-extracted, isolated compounds just to compensate for the fact that we have thoroughly exhausted the Earth's soil.
We are essentially acting as the mechanics for our own broken ecosystem.
We are. So what happens to the trajectory of human health and the human experience in the next 50 to 100 years when the gap between the natural world and the laboratory completely closes.
That's a profound question.
If our soil continues to degrade beyond repair and our synthetic formulations become infinitely more advanced, are we slowly evolving beyond the biological need for traditional agriculture entirely?
A post-food humanity.
Yes, and if we do reach a point where our cellular survival relies entirely on synthetic, perfectly calibrated formulations rather than the dirt beneath our feet, what essential, grounded part of our humanity do we lose in that highly efficient synthetic translation?
It is a staggering thought.
It really is. The next time you walk through the produce aisle holding that modern orange, remember the stakes. You aren't just deciding what's for dinner. You are navigating the most complex, fragile biological balancing act in human history.
Thanks for diving deep with us.